Hello, welcome back to the Knitting Lab. Today I'm going to work on a technique that we're using for toe-up socks. And this video is going to be a little bit long, and what we're going to do is start with the cast on that we're using for the toe-up sock, and then we're going to proceed to work the first row and the next row so you can see how to work the increases as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The cast on that we're using for this is called Judy's Magic Cast On, created by a woman named Judy Becker. You can read about it, look it up, but for now we're just going to jump in. I'm going to use a larger circular needle, so you won't be using a needle this large for our sock weight yarn, but I'm hoping that the larger needle will provide better visibility as you watch the video. And I'm going to be stopping frequently because I want to make sure that my camera has time to focus, because as you know, if you can't see it, it's not really helpful for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I have this really long cable here. Okay, we'll do our best right now. Your cable probably won't be as long because I believe this is at least a 40-inch needle. But what you need to know is you're going to be taking your double point, your long circular needle, and you're going to be holding the points parallel with each other. And at this point, we're going to be pointing them to the left. And we're going to get our yarn, and you're not going to be casting on a terribly large amount of stitches. The most is probably going to be about 30 total. But for the video, I'm going to go ahead and cast on about 10 per needle. Okay? So I'm going to take the yarn, I'm going to give myself, let's say you give yourself at least a foot at this point to cast on with. And the tail is going to be hanging over this needle that's furthest from me. I'm going to call that the back needle. And the way I've draped the strand of yarn is with the tail end toward me and the working end going over toward the back. Okay? So what I'm going to do before I start is twist these two ends to make a little loop on the needle, and that will be considered the first stitch. So I have my tail here, and I'm going to put that to the back on the right side. So the working end right here is coming forward on the left, and the tail is going to the back on the right. If you see it from this end, the tail on the right going to the back. And now I'm going to hold them over my fingers just like we do when we use a long tail cast on. But in this case, the tail is now over my left index finger and the working end is on my right thumb. So I have now, by forming that first loop, that's my first stitch. And so now I'm going to cast on the stitch on the bottom needle. So I'm going to be taking the needles, swinging them up toward the index finger. The strand comes up over the bottom needle and goes back down in the center. One stitch is cast on the bottom needle. And now go back to casting on the top needle, because I'm always alternating top, bottom, or back, front. So now I'm going to swing the needles toward my thumb. My my strand on my thumb comes up in between the needles, over the top. That's cast on. Again, swinging the needles up to the index finger, I go from the bottom to the center. Swing them back, I go from the center to the top. Swing the needles up, bottom to the center. Swing the needles down, center to the top. And let me check in and count. I've got 4 on the top and 3 on the bottom, so that means I didn't get the last bottom stitch. Swing it up, bottom to the center. Now I have 4 stitches on the top and 4 on the bottom. For this pattern, you're going to be casting on an equal amount on the top and bottom. Let's just say you had to do 26 total. That would be 13 on the top, 13 on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and get a total of 10 stitches on the needle. I have 4, so I have to continue. But if you get stuck in the middle and forget which one you did last, just gently move the yarn and you'll see, oh, okay, the yarn is connected to the bottom needle on my index finger. So that means I'm ready to do the top again. So here I go. Center to the top, rotate. rotate down, center up, rotate up, rotate down, rotate up. Again. I'm always working in the same direction, meaning the yarn is being wrapped in the same direction. And let's see where I am now. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, I need one more stitch for each needle. Again, I did the bottom last, so I swing it down and I go, oops, center up, and then I swing it up, bottom. So now I believe I have 10. I'm letting go of the strands. I'm going to just put my finger here to hold tension on it so it doesn't unravel that last stitch, and I'm going to count. 4, 6, 8, 10. All right, I've got 10 stitches on each needle. Mercifully, the camera's focused, so hopefully you can see that. I've finished casting on those stitches now, and I am going to rotate the needle to the opposite direction so I can begin knitting, and I'm going to just like that. The points are now facing the right. The last stitches worked are now at the top, and I am going to show you what you need to do to start knitting. The stitches I'm going to knit first are actually the top needle, and the last strand was just the tail, and it's hanging out off the needle and it's not supported. So what I want you to do is take the working yarn, let me rotate this, take the working yarn here and twist it counterclockwise around the tail like that. My tail is here, I'm going to tuck it over. And now I will prevent the last stitch from unwrapping. So this is the working yarn. I just twisted it clockwise around the tail. Okay, now I'm going to start knitting. The first thing you're going to do in this pattern is knit the whole round without making any changes. So I pull out the bottom needle. And there I have it. I push the stitches toward the needle tip, and I do regular knitting. I'm going to, after I get a couple done, I'm going to speed up because I just want you to see what it looks like after everything's done. So even if I'm out of focus, you know I'm doing regular old knitting. Okay, and I'm going to pick up and just get those guys done. This is the last one. I have just knit across all the stitches on the top needle, so now they're on the right needle. So I'm going to let go of this needle. I'm going to pull the cable up a bit so that the tip is getting close there, and I'm going to rotate again, and I'm going to pull the needle out of the stitches I just worked and load the stitches on for the needle I have not worked. So I'm going to just show you where I'm at. I have just worked that top needle, but I rotated it, so now it's on the bottom. The last, the working end of the yarn is just coming off that bottom stitch. I'm going to grab it. It's not wrapped around the needle like it shouldn't. It's just coming off the last stitch worked. And now I am pulling this needle out so I have slack, and I'm going to now knit into the top stitches. Whoops. And I'm going to knit through all of these and then show you what that looks like when it's all done. Whoops. Alrighty. So now I've knit through the whole round. I knit through the first needle, and then I turned it around and knit through the back needle, and I want you to take a look. All right, how cool is that? This is the public side of the knitting. It looks like, let's see, come on, there we go. It looks like just regular knitted fabric connecting these two needles. And on the other side, it looks like the inside of stockinette. Okay, you see all those pearl bumps. That's going to be inside of the sock. So I've completed the top and the bottom, and that means it's time to rotate again. I'm going to take up some of the slack of the needle, like that. I don't need to push it on. I just want to get it close, and now rotate again. So basically I was this way. I'm turning it so the point's facing the other direction. And this time I'm going to start increasing because the pattern has you knit one round plain, meaning without any changes, and then you have to start increasing. So the first round's instruction is knit one stitch, then knit into the front and the back, knit until 3 stitches left on the needle, knit front and back, knit 2. So that's a series of instructions that takes place just on the first needle. And then the instruction says repeat. Okay, so that means I'm going to do this instruction on this needle, flip it, and do it on the bottom. And when I do that, I'll have increased 4 stitches, 1 on each end of needle 1 and 1 on each end on needle 2. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I find it easier to pull out the needle at the bottom before I pull up the stitches to work. And if, like me, you get stuck, just take a second, take your breath, and just gently try to work your stitches up one at a time instead of jamming them all up there, okay? Stitches are now in position. Working yarn is coming off the last stitch without being twisted around the needle or around the cable. Here's the needle ready in position. So let's hopefully focus. There we go. The instructions are knit 1 and then knit front and back. So I knit into the, let's see, there, knit into the front, bring the needle to the back and knit through the back leg, bring that through. That's my knit front and back right there. Looks like a little purl bump right on the left. Now I'm going to knit to the last 3 stitches. You might notice when you read the pattern that the instructions are not perfectly symmetrical because I have you make the increase on the 2nd stitch when you're starting and on the 3rd stitch in when you're ending. But the result is going to look symmetrical. So I have 3 stitches left. I'm going to knit into the front, around the back, like so. And then I'm going to knit the remaining 2 stitches plain. And the front and the left, and the right and the left are both going to have little purl bumps 2 stitches in. Okie doke. So they look symmetrical. Now that I've completed that on needle 1, I have to rotate around again so I can do that with the bottom needle. So again, here's the working yarn. I'm going to pull that needle out a little bit on the bottom. It gives my stitches some room, makes it easier for me to pull the stitches up on the top. Alrighty, yarn in position, pulling the needle out, letting our camera focus. Awesome. Here I go again. Knit 1, knit into the front and around to the back. Boom, increased 1, knit to the last 3 stitches. Last 3 stitches, I do knit into the front and back, and I knit 2. 1, 2. So I had started with 10 stitches on the top, 10 on the bottom, so that's a total of 20. And now I should have a total of 24 stitches because I should have grown by 4. So let's see. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 on the top. And I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 on the bottom. So I have increased equally. And after you've done this, which is the way you're growing for round 1, you're going to do round 2, which is just knit plain. And for those of you not familiar, when I say knit plain, that means you're going to knit without any increases or decreases, any changes. You just knit the stitches as they are. Okay? So now you're set up for the beginning of the sock, and you should be in good shape for completing lesson 1. Lesson 1, I'm going to have you cast on. You're going to do those alternating increases and plain rows until you get to your total number of stitches, which you'll have on your pattern. And then you're going to continue to knit this shape until you are 3 inches shy of the length of your foot. And when you're done, it's going to look something like, it's going to look like this. We're going to have the toe. You're going to be increasing on both sides, and then you're going to knit plain. Once you've reached the maximum, your total number of stitches, which would be this, you're going to knit, knit, knit like this. So because my length was about 9 1/4, I knit until my sock was 6 inches long before I was ready for the next step. Okay, there you have it. My request is that you practice that cast on so that you'll be comfortable with it before class. Okay, and this is basically what a little toe looks like. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Take care, see you soon.